think I'm quite ready for another adventure.
Well, hello everyone. What's going on? Random Saturday stream. Who would have thought we would do a Saturday stream? But I can't do it tomorrow, so I figured I want to get another chapter in. The last chapter was short, kind of a transitional chapter. So this time we are doing a Saturday read. Why not? Ooh, first time got in, Paul. Nice. Before the cast. You like the theory of Gandalf purposely putting the contract under the clock, and therefore Bilbo had no time to think better on it. I feel like he did, you know? I feel like he wants Bilbo to make a rash decision, because the rash decision side is his tookish side, and he wants to fan that into flame. Gandalf is, if anything, Gandalf is a really good coach. Or maybe not a good coach, but yeah, he'd be a good coach. He's like he's a good teacher. He like helps people. He helps people become their best selves, maybe. The question for today: what's the best city? What is your guys' favorite city? And then, objectively, what is the best city in the world? That's the question for today. Because you guys are talking about Amsterdam and Kansas City. I've never been to Kansas City. But I'm curious. IRL. You could talk in Middle Earth too. Minas Tirith is pretty hard to beat, I'm sure. Yeah, let me know what you think is the best city. Gondolin before the fall. Eindhoven? Never been. Born there. Of course, you're a little biased on that. Yeah, I'm not the biggest city person either. I would much rather be in the woods somewhere. Minas Tirith is extremely easy to beat. Anywhere in Italy. But which city? All the cities in Italy I feel like are so different. Michael, thanks for the $10. I happen to think if you want to change things up next chapter, Tolkien actually read the entire Riddles of the Dark beginning with paragraph 12. I don't want to listen to it. I mean, I'll probably listen to it on my own time, but I still want to do my own read of that. I'd rather not listen. There's copyright issues with that. It's a good idea, but there's too many copyright issues that I would have to run into. I just had to delete the last video that I did, annoyingly, because of copyright issues. I used the song. I emailed the guy, and I've been trying to get into touch with the guy that I use a song from. And it's the only song that I've ever done this. It was just a good intro song. And I tried to get in touch with him a week ago, and I haven't heard anything back. And then I got flagged for copyright, and it was annoying. So I am going to re-upload that either Monday or Wednesday with a new intro. So that's kind of annoying. But I don't think that I can... I don't think I would listen to the Tolkien version, even though that you probably can and do that, and it wouldn't be necessarily copyright. There's too much of a risk of that. They would sometimes, if you do that, like if I would listen to a YouTube video and the Tolkien Foundation has that, the stream sometimes gets shut down. At least it does it on Twitch sometimes. Like the stream just shuts. It says, nope, you can't do that. Forget you. Also, hello, anybody on Twitch? We have one person watching on Twitch. Hello. So yeah, thanks for the $10. Good suggestion, but probably not. I like that most of the people here aren't necessarily city people. Would you guys say you're a city people or country people or forest people or lake people? If you could live anywhere in Middle Earth, where would you live? The Hobbit's going faster than I thought. I thought there was, not that there was going to be, I still think there's a lot that I can talk about with the Hobbit. But I thought the chapters were going to be a little bit more dense, but they're not. So we're doing a chapter a week. This should probably take us, I'm guessing, till August-ish, maybe. I don't know. Hold on. If we're doing one a week, yeah, probably till like August, right? And then we'll probably start the Silmarillion maybe September. Because there's maybe one or two things, like I want to read Leaf by Niggle and one or two things. So I'll probably start September, the Silmarillion. Because yeah, all this is probably another few months of reading. When you're in the city, you like it. When you're in the country, you like it too. Been to Switzerland, loved it. I would love to just chill in a mountain town somewhere. Dale, the Havens, suburban, a little suburban life. Rivendell would be pretty sweet. Big city is Cape Town, then mountains every time. Cecilia, I'm 100% with you. I don't mind like a city. I don't mind like living close to a city, but I would just want to live in the mountains. Give me like a mountain house. Oh, man, I want that so bad. Grey Haven, so you can remain in Middle Earth and satisfy the sea longing. It is interesting how we get to talk about coastal cities, because I feel like when I was initially reading this a long time, and Lord of the Rings a long time ago, feels like a long time ago, we were talking about the map and how it doesn't feel like there's any coastal cities, but I remember you guys said there's actually a lot of coastal dwellings. Lived in Grand Lake, Colorado. Oof, that is like ideal. Grand Lake, Colorado, up in the mountains probably, close to Denver, close-ish to Denver. Every elven city is easily better than Minas Tirith. Easily? I don't know. Minas Tirith is a pretty cool city. I gotta be honest. I don't think I would want to live there, but it's like in the mountains. You can kind of get away and go hike, go look for some trees, some white trees, you know? Yeah, Dol Amroth, right by the sea. Man, that'd be great. Next to the best national park. Wow, that's a hot take. Rocky Mountain National Park. I think that's what it's called. Hot take. I've heard that park, or what park is it called again? I've heard that park is really underrated and less traveled than others, so I really want to go there. Be fun. I've never been there. My parents have been there, but I haven't been there. Gotta settle for Jersey now, though. Yeah, stuck in New Jersey. I think I've been to Charleston or through Charleston once. I don't remember. Charleston is on the coast, right? Estes Parkside is too busy. Interesting. Oh, no way. You were up in Sparta? Wait, Sparta, New Jersey? I was kind of close to that this morning. That's crazy. I was up in West Milford today. Maybe TMI, but that's wild. That's funny. 5K run. I love that. I feel like I saw signs for a 5K run. That's crazy. That's cool. It was a beautiful day for a run, a 5K. My goodness. Up in Jersey right now, it is the most pristine, beautiful weather you could imagine today. Oh, it's so nice. Yeah, I feel like I would probably, if I was doing somewhere in Middle Earth, I think Ithilien still might be my place. Ithilien or Hobbiton. Like, is there, like, Lake Evandem, maybe? I'm a big lake person. I love a good lake. Or Evendim, right? That's what it's called. Also, everyone liked to stream. I feel like not a ton of people are going to show up today because it's on a Saturday. It's a little bit different from normal, but we're still going to have fun to read. Charleston, you were 7 years old and ate a full platter of ribs after a long day of walking. Isn't it funny how sometimes when you're a kid, you just remember those like long days and then all of a sudden you never really like, I still remember moments when I would always want to get a full stack of pancakes and I never was able to eat it. And then I remember like days when I was on vacation where we'd be walking a lot and then all of a sudden I would get a full stack of pancakes and I would eat it because I was so hungry. I have so many memories like that of like food when I was a kid and just like wolfing it down. I still remember there's a place kind of near me, like in like 2 hours ish, like hour and some change, called Lake Mohonk. Everyone look that up on Google right now because it's, well, like I could just see that for you. Look at this place. Or Mohonk Lake. Mohonk, like honk honk. There's a mountain house on it. Look at this place. It looks like, man, this place is magical. I'm going to get a big picture. Oh, come on. That picture just went away. Come on. Wes is a little chatty. Everyone, look at this. Look at this place. This is kind of near New York City. Isn't that crazy? Man, some nice stuff. Like I would want to like live in a city like that, or not a city, like a lake city like this. What's the lake? Lake Town is in Middle Earth, right? Lake Town. I feel like that wouldn't be that fun to live in. I don't want to like smell like fish all day, but I would love to live on a lake. Erebor would be kind of fun. Skiliath in its prime would be kind of sick. Yeah, honestly, I think about that all the time. I'm not the biggest fan of cold weather, although I've come to kind of like it because Wes, my dog, really likes it, and I'm always out in the cold now. Minnesota, Montana, South North Dakota, for some reason, is so appealing to me. Like, one of my favorite places on earth is a place in Canada, called Algonquin Provincial Park. It's just a place with a bunch of lakes, and it's like heaven. It's incredible. No way, you've been to Mohawk? That's crazy. Wait, that's wild. A South African going to a Mohawk? That's cool. South Africa or East Africa? Or West? Where in Africa are you from again? Yeah, it is beautiful up in Mohawk. No way, you guys have been to Mohawk? That's crazy. That's cool. I guess it's kind of known if you're from this area a little bit. Yeah, like Wisconsin is so appealing to me too. Yeah, if you live there your whole life, would you really know that you smell like fish? That's a great question. Lake Town is what the company is headed. Okay, yeah. You grew up in the Hudson Valley. Love that. I remember that. Yeah, a valley and mountain person. The Hudson Valley is wildly beautiful. It's like it's a very underrated place. It is beautiful. Algonquin Park is incredible. I love it. Jealous that you live near Algonquin. Such a beautiful place. Barron Canyon is your favorite. Never been. You're in West Africa. Okay. I'll remember that now. Yeah, I think I love Switzerland too. Switzerland seems appealing to me. Everyone was saying that Rivendell was kind of based off of Switzerland, like a Tolkien visit to Switzerland. Anduni on the west coast of Numenor, where Elendil came from, facing Valinor. Ooh, very specific. I love that. Have I seen the show about Elkhorn? It's about Teddy Roosevelt, and it takes place in the Dakotas. 2 seasons. Never. But I'll add it to the list. Lived in Western New York for a few years. Love that. Rivendell has Swiss vibes. That's what I've heard, yeah. Rohan in the Whitened Mountains. Or, right? Rohan would be kind of sick. Rohan is pretty underrated, I feel like. I actually wouldn't mind living in Rohan. I love the culture of Rohan. Noble. They love animals. They're good horse masters. Just like roam in the free country. You know, it feels a little bit like the Wild West, but like not a lot of crime. Like the cool Wild West. Oh, let's go. Yeah, Rev, that's the same exact thing that I did. And it's the best. It is incredible. Oh, man. From SA. South Africa, San Antonio. Also, I don't know if any of you guys like basketball. I'm a big San Antonio Spurs fan, which is a long story because I'm from New Jersey. They just had a big win yesterday. They're in the conference finals. It's great. It's exciting. I don't care that much for sports, but I like the Spurs and I like World Cup soccer. Those are like my 2 sports things that I watch. I know some people from there via your church. Nice. You know some people from San Antonio or South Africa? Which one? Wait, what did Audrey say? Columbia River is also stunning. Oh, Celia's just excited Audrey's here. World Cup soccer, I am so excited for. Although I live, guys, I've told you this before, I live like close to where the World Cup final is going to be, and I cannot tell you the mess that it's going to be. So I know I have like a few friends who work in transportation, and one of them works on the New York ferry system, and he's like, it is going to be a pain. It is going to be insane. Well, you're talking about the Spurs in Premier League. So the Premier League Spurs, Tottenham Hotspur, are not good. The San Antonio Spurs, on the other hand, are crushing. They're doing great. Totally forgot what I was going to say. Yeah, the transportation in the World Cup is going to be nuts. They're already jacking up the prices for trains. Like, I'm excited because it's like a fun thing to have the World Cup kind of close to you. But goodness, it is going to be awful. It is going to be so bad. They're saying that the trains for during the World Cup are going to be like $150 to get to the Meadowlands, which is where the stadium is. $150 to get there. I'm honestly thinking about driving my car to MetLife during the final and offering people rides for crazy amounts of money. Ripping people off. No, not ripping people off. But you could probably make a killing off of being like a private limo driver, you know, during the World Cup. People would pay so much money to get away from all that traffic and to get home, you know, wherever they're from. In the movie In Bruges, yeah, Uber driver for a day, or not even an Uber driver, just drive to the stadium and be like, hey, who needs a ride? $500 if you want a ride. Just make a quick buck. Also, 2 people on Twitch. Welcome, 2 people on Twitch. We're gonna start reading in a few. Everyone liked the stream. I never keep the stream captive, but I always think, imagine if I was like one of those people who was like, I won't start to read until we get 100 likes on this stream. I'm not that kind of streamer. I do not care. But apparently likes help. I don't really know if they really do. Everyone says they do. Everything on Google says they do. But really, do they? I don't know. YouTube's algorithm. Let's talk about this. The final thing we'll talk about before we start to read. Does the YouTube algorithm stink for anyone else other than me? I feel like YouTube is losing its way. And that's a little scary because I'm trying to make my living off of YouTube. YouTube's always going to be a thing, obviously. But goodness gracious, the YouTube algorithm is striking out recently. I feel like for the past 6, 7, 8 months, it has been awful. Especially the last few weeks. Like, it's just not doing good for me. Like, the only thing that I'm going to YouTube now is for the people I'm like subscribing to more channels, which maybe is actually the point of what they're trying to do. They're trying to make you subscribe. Maybe they're trying to bring back the idea of subscriptions. And I accidentally said 6, 7, sorry. I subscribe to people now on YouTube, and I just watch subscribed content. Whatever it is, the For You page or my homepage, the recommendations that they're giving me are not fun. They're not good. Like, just because I watched one video on, you know, Lewis and Clark doesn't mean I want 5,000 other Lewis and Clark videos. You know? Although that is kind of sweet. Software engineer. Okay, your hypothesis is that they've laid off. Oh, no. Wait, why did someone delete that message? Scared a bunch of smart people and they begun. Oh, interesting. You get your post, but I have you subbed with always show alerts. Love that. Yeah, honestly, maybe YouTube's trying to bring that back a little bit because it is so negligible on YouTube. If like anybody is trying to make videos on YouTube, no one cares about subscriber count anymore. I kind of do because I feel like that's like the MO of my, like I'd rather care. I'd rather... Huh, weird. I would rather get like a good subscriber count and get like a good community. That's like my thing, I think. But man, it is... If you're like if the people that I know that are working on YouTube really just try to go for view counts, which is a little frustrating sometimes. Ooh, nice. More illustrations. Thank you. Yeah, everyone, if you want to join the Discord, Jost is used in the Discord or in the Twitch and in the YouTube chat. Let me copy paste the Discord. If anybody wants to join, most of you probably have already, but if anybody wants to join, we just chat, talk about nerd things there. There's a good community there. Yeah, I like this community too. I'm pretty impartial. Ooh, beautiful illustrations. Holy smokes. The mountain path. I want to go up that because the lightning doesn't look very appealing. Wow, the misty mountain. Looking west. That looks like the solitary misty mountain. That's a cool place. Cool illustrations. Yeah, send any illustrations that you can or that you get on those. I love that stuff. Ooh, Baragon just joined in the Discord. That's kind of crazy. Ooh, interesting. Someone just has a hot take in the Discord about the end of the Tale of Two Cities, which I just finished the end of A Tale of Two Cities. Also, hold on. I'm gonna do a quick thing. I'm gonna talk about my YouTube stuff, some other people's YouTube stuff, and stuff that I've been watching and liking lately, and then we'll read. Sorry, I'm so distracted today. Yeah, I watch Geeky Stokes all the time. We hung out. We did like a little retreat thing, and I met Steven and Riley about a month ago. And then I saw Steven in New York City a few days ago, and then we went and hung out for a little bit, and then we were walking in the Morgan Library, which is one of the most beautiful libraries in New York City. And then we walked past Paul Bettany, and I looked and I go, oh, that's Paul Bettany. And so I turned over to Steven and I was like, Steven, you just noticed we passed Vision from the Marvel movies? And he's like, oh, I'm going to go do another loop around there. So we both saw Vision together, or Paul Bettany. Same difference. You guys should go subscribe to Geeky Stoics. They're a great little channel over there. They're very similar to what I'm doing. They just talk about good media and literature. If any of you don't know them, go subscribe. Also, I just finished. If any of you are, I can't speak. If any of you are not subscribed to the classics, we're doing the classics. I'm gonna do a different little bit of. I started that channel off just as like a fun thing, where I wanted to read some classics, and I was doing live reads of the classics, and I was doing a few short videos. I'm gonna change that up. I'm gonna do the Iliad and the Odyssey next, and it's gonna be more. Not like this channel exactly, but somewhat. Oh, Paul, thanks for the gifted memberships, and congrats on the gifted members. Oh, man, some good gifted members. Some classics. David, Mr. Donato, Hannah. Great, love that. Congrats on getting a gifted membership. And I just finished The Tale of Two Cities. The ending blew me away. I was pretty in love with the ending of A Tale of Two Cities. I still think it's a phenomenal ending. There's a lot to discuss on The Tale of Two Cities, but I'm going to just read some more classics, and I'm essentially just going to do like maybe a video or two a week, like an essay a week, and just kind of chat about my thoughts and feelings of whatever I'm reading. So it's going to kind of be like this channel, but maybe a little bit more relaxed, a little bit more chill, a little bit more me just like yammering on and on about that kind of stuff. So if anybody wants to subscribe, let me copy paste the link. And then I am dumb because I have a lot of other channels that I'm literally about to start, which probably is really dumb. So here, everyone, this is Geeky Stokes. If you haven't subscribed to Geeky Stokes, subscribe to Geeky Stokes. Ryan, this is one of my favorite vines of all time. The Tale of Three Cities. And then as soon as the last word hit, it was like the Michael Bay ending. where it goes, where the way they play that Linkin Park song. What's that song? What I've done. The Transformers ending. Everyone subscribe to Geeky Stoics there. They're a great channel. And then also subscribe to my other channels. I have too many other channels. I have too many. I'm just gonna paste. I'm gonna just show you guys the Classics channel. Subscribe to the Classics. I also have a Game of Thrones channel if any of you are into Game of Thrones, but that one is even less. That one's just like, I don't have a lot of written out essays. I'm just chatting about what I'm chatting about there. Love that. Proud Geeky Stoic subscriber. Love that. Subscribe to Classics if you want to subscribe to Classics. And then I'm doing 2 other projects. Yeah. That I want to talk about. Do you guys remember? You guys should remember Danny and Lizzie. I used to do the podcast with them when we were just starting out Lord of the Rings. Life got busy. We weren't able to do it anymore. They're great. They're like some of my best friends. We're going to bring it back in a small way. We're not going to necessarily do the podcast, but we are one of my favorite. I have to do a synopsis on this. One of my favorite YouTube channels right now, and I know this is like old, and they were started this 20 years ago, is John and Hank Green Vlog Brothers. I just love what they're doing, and I love how many things I got going on, and they're just so interesting and fun. So me, Danny, and Lizzie are gonna read Dune, and we're gonna kind of do that, like just talk about our thoughts and feelings of certain books, and or that certain book, and like talk about theories, and it's gonna be like this channel, a mix of this channel and like a mix of us just chatting, like a record, like a podcast where we're like making replies and responses to each other. So it's gonna be a little different. Yeah, don't ask Tolkien about Dune for sure. I'm kind of excited to read Dune though. I think it's gonna be an interesting read. I think there's gonna be a lot to talk about. I know I need them to make more videos, but Danny just had a kid. Life is crazy busy for him. Lizzie just started a new job. Life is crazy busy for her. Lizzie is brilliant. Both of them are brilliant. I'm so excited to work with them again because they're like my best buds. And then I'm not gonna tell you what this channel is, but I'm doing another channel with a friend that is going to be we're gonna read through some of the Western canon, and we are going to just do a like response to each other, where we're probably going to do like 1 or 2 videos a week, and we're just going to talk about what our thoughts are, what our feelings are, what we like different flavors of that. I am very much of the take for some YouTube things that I don't really believe in promotion all that much. Like I just believe in a natural, organic audience finding your stuff and watching it and enjoying it. So I don't think I'm going to really ever promote that one. I'm just going to say you guys got to go find that one on YouTube somewhere. If you can, I'd be impressed if you can find it, because that is currently 0 subscribers. We haven't posted any video, so I don't think anybody could actually find it. But we're going to start posting in the next few days and just start reading through the Western canon and chatting like Vlog Brother style about the Western canon. And then we're going to get to the Eastern canon in like 10, 20 years when we finish the Western. So we'll see how it goes. But maybe I'll promote that once or twice. But I don't really believe in promotion all that much. I like organic. That's why I have a bunch of other channels that I can kind of do like collaborations with myself, but that just seems weird. I know. Legitimately, there are going to be 6 to 7 channels. Yeah, and that's the thing. And Cecilia, I am 100% going to do a South African classic, and I'm going to just have a chat with you about all the South African classics. That sounds so fun. Dune, the 6 books, and then it gets weird after that. That's what I've heard, but I'm still really interested in reading them. I think it's going to be a fun read. I think it's going to be like a very different read from what I'm used to, I guess. More like conceptual. Like there's probably like he seems like he's driving at a point. That little Herbert guy. What's his name? George Herbert? No, that's the poet George Herbert. Who wrote Dune? What's his first name? Herbert. Herbert. Imagine if his name was Herbert. Frank Herbert, thank you. Wait, hold on. Frank Herbert was born in your hometown? No way. You hated Dune as much as Tolkien? It's interesting that you hated it. I feel like it's going to be an interesting thing to talk about. There's going to be a lot of good discussion points in that. By successfully resolving the terrible ethical dilemma of the Tralali problem. Huh? You like the first two books, and after that you can stand them. Interesting. Yeah, that's what I heard with a lot of people. Oh, Tolkien was born in your hometown. Wait, no way. I didn't know that. Tolkien was born in South Africa? That's crazy. I know some people say that I'm going to waste my time on some Dune sequels and like some of the Dune books, but I want to determine if I want to waste my time or not. Like I don't know if I'll read a lot of the sequels. Maybe I'll read the first one and see how it goes, but I don't mind a little bit of time wasting. And then after we do Dune, we might do like some Star Wars stuff. Read through the canon of Star Wars. I hope there's less people into that, but that'd be fun. Just personally. After that, it gets disconnected. Yeah, that's kind of what I heard. There's a lot of different opinions. Some people say after the first one. Some people say after the third one. Some people have to say after the sixth one. Some people say just don't read them at all. Yeah, we're definitely going to do Foundation. It's going to be more like sci-fi. And, yeah. Is Star Wars sci-fi? What is the definition of sci-fi? Yeah, Wheel of Time. Only lived there a few years. His dad died while he was his brother and mom were visiting England, so they never went back. Wow, that's crazy. Pete, I love that. Good comment. Probably the both, but more likely the old canon. I don't know. I actually don't know the difference. Space opera, that's what it is, yeah. Foundation is a lot of words for not much reward. Interesting. Star Trek is sci-fi. Star Wars is science fantasy. Interesting. Okay. Yeah, space opera. That's what I've heard before. All right, everyone. We're going to get to reading because I'm excited to read. This chapter is not that long, but it's still longer than some of the others. Longer than the last chapter. Almost like 15-ish. No, less. That's crazy. These chapters are short. That's actually sad that they're short. It's about 10 pages, this chapter. 12 pages. Lack of character-driven narrative. Any book that's a little bit more of a lack of character-driven is kind of boring to me. I need a good character-driven novel. Although, if the writing, sometimes the characters do bloom at the end. Like, I actually felt that with The Tale of Two Cities, the character writing was fun. Wasn't as strong as like a Pride and Prejudice until the end. Sidney Carton's decision at the end was so moving. That writing was so excellent. So good. Just wrote a piece on Tolkien's loss of his father and that event effects on his love and life and work. No way. Where is that piece? Where can I read that? Do you have a blog or anything? Plug it if you want here. Or you can throw it in the Discord and then I can plug it because I don't think people can post links in YouTube chats. You got Nazgul waiting. This is a good transition chapter, but last chapter was a transition chapter. All right, guys, we're going to sit and read. So enjoy. Everyone like the stream. Keep chatting about sci-fi if you want, but I'm going to start reading. It's about the science fiction. It's not about the characters who happen to be set in science fiction setting. Interesting. All right, well, this is chapter 4, Overhill and Underhill. I wonder if that's why he's known as Underhill. There were many paths that led up into those mountains, and then many passes over them. But most of the paths were cheats, and deceptions and led nowhere or to bad ends. And most of the passes were infested by evil things and dreadful dangers. The dwarves and the hobbits, helped by the wise advice of Elrond and the knowledge and memory of Gandalf, took the right road to the right pass. Well done. Long days after they had climbed out of the valley and left the last homely house miles behind, they were still going up and up and up. It was a hard path and a dangerous path, a crooked way and a lonely and a long. Now they could look back over the lands they had left, laid up behind them far below. Far, far away in the west, where things were blue and faint, Bilbo knew there lay his own country of safe and comfortable things, and his little hobbit hole. He shivered. It was getting bitter cold up here, and the wind came shrill among the rocks. Boulders, too, at times came galloping down the mountainsides, let loose by midday sun upon the snow, and passed among them, which was lucky, or over their heads, which was alarming. The nights were comfortless and chill, and they did not dare to sing or talk too loud, for the echoes were uncanny, and the silence seemed to dislike being broken, except by the noise of water and the wail of the wind and the crack of stone. Summer is getting on down below, thought Bilbo, and haymaking is going on and picnics. They will be harvesting and blackberrying before we even begin to go down the other side at this rate. And the others were thinking especially gloomy thoughts, although when they had said goodbye to Elrond in the high hopes of a midsummer morning, they had spoken gaily of the passage of the mountains and of riding swift across the lands beyond. They had thought of coming to the secret door in the lonely mountains. Perhaps that very last moon of autumn. And perhaps it will be Durin's day, they had said. Only Gandalf had shaken his head and said nothing. This is hilarious. Gandalf being the realistic hiker here is so relatable. Sometimes you jump on that and you go, like, if anybody's hiked with people, you have a lot of optimists when you first start backpacking, and then they go, oh, we're going to get here by this time. And people who are experienced hikers go, I don't know about that. This isn't going to work that well. Gandalf's just realistic. He's like, no. Dwarves had not passed that way for many years. But Gandalf had. And he knew how evil and danger had grown and thriven in the wild, since the dragons had driven men from the lands, and the goblins had spread in secret after the battle of the mines of Moria. Even the good plans of wise wizards like Gandalf and of good friends like Elrond go astray sometimes when you are off on dangerous adventures over the edge of the wild. And Gandalf was a wise enough wizard to know it. I like that. Even the good plans of wise wizards like Gandalf and of good friends like Elrond go astray sometimes when you are off on dangerous adventures over the edge of the wild. And Gandalf was a wise enough wizard to know it. That's a good line. I like that. He knew something unexpected might happen, and he hardly dared to hope that they would pass without fearful adventure over those great tall mountains, with lonely peaks and valleys where no king ruled. They did not. As all was well until one day they met a thunderstorm. More than a thunderstorm, a thunder battle. You know how terrific a really big thunderstorm can be down in the land and in the river valley, especially at times when two great thunderstorms meet and clash. More terrible still are thunder and lightning in the mountains at night, when storms come up from the east and west and make war. The lightning splinters on the peaks and rocks shiver, and great crashes split the air and go rolling and tumbling into every cave and hollow, and the darkness is filled with overwhelming noise and sudden light. Dang. This honestly feels like Tolkien is writing like this is like a travel vlog. This is like a lot more travel vloggy than The Lord of the Rings. The more you know. Honestly, you should make a channel like that. That would probably be great. Bilbo had never seen or imagined anything of the kind. They were high up in a narrow place, with a dreadful fall into a dim valley at one side of them. They were sheltering under a hanging rock for the night, and he lay beneath a blanket and shook from head to toe. When he peeped out into the lightning flashes, he saw that across the valley, the stone giants were out, and were hurling rocks at one another for a game, and catching them, and tossing them down into the darkness, where they smashed among the trees far below. Didn't they have the rock giants in the movie? I think they did. Rock giants. So bizarre. Rock giants. Just mountain trolls? Mountain trolls for Tolkien? Interesting. Just big trolls. Yeah, these things made of rocks. Rock giants, just like a different name for trolls. Oh, cool. These rock giants are sick. Man, that is a treacherous path they're going up. These are cool illustrations. They're huge. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I feel like they're not made of rocks. I feel like they would just be giants that hurl rocks, aka called rock giants. You know what I mean? Maybe that's just me though. Book leaves them mysterious. Yeah, there's a cool element of that in this. And does Bilbo see this? When he peeped out, he saw that across the valley the stone giants were out. So he's actually seeing this. And they were hurling rocks at one another for a game and catching them and tossing them down into the darkness, where they smashed among the trees far below, or splintered into little bits with a bang. Then came a wind and rain, and the wind whipped the rain and the hail about in every direction, so that an overhanging rock was no protection at all. Soon they were getting drenched, and their ponies were standing with their heads down and their tails between their legs. And some of them were whinnying with fright. They could hear giants guffawing and shouting all over the mountainsides. "This won't do at all," said Thorin. If we don't get blown off, or drowned, or struck by lightning, we shall be picked up by some giant and kicked sky high for a football." Football exists! That is so funny that Thorin says that. Football. His writing is so much more childlike here. Yeah, more like football. Is it like football? Or football with your feet? Football, not soccer. Yeah, we have football, golf, and then we do have chess too. I think Danny noticed that in The Lord of the Rings. There's a mention of chess. Yeah, golf exists, so why not soccer? Soccer existed. Anytime I talk about soccer now with people that I know, I'm gonna say it existed in the early ages of the universe, in Middle Earth. American egg ball. Well, if you know of anywhere better, take us there, said Gandalf, who was feeling very grumpy, and was far from happy about the giants himself. The end of their argument was that they sent Fili and Kili to look for a better shelter. They had very sharp eyes, and being the youngest of the dwarves by some 50 years, they usually got these sort of jobs, when everybody could see it was absolutely no use sending Bilbo. There is nothing like looking if you want to find something. There's nothing like looking if you want to find something. I'm going to do a personal reflection essay about that. There's nothing like looking if you want to find something. Or so Thorin said to the young dwarves. Excuse me. You certainly usually, interesting construction there. You certainly usually. That's kind of frowned down upon in the editorial world. You certainly usually find something if you look, but it is not always quite the something you were after. So it proved on this occasion. Soon Fili and Kili came back, holding on to the rocks in the wind. We have found a dry cave, they said, not far from the next corner. And ponies and all could get inside. That's one of his best lines. It's a great line. Interesting. Soccer was an abbreviation for association football. That's crazy. I didn't know that. That's where the word came from. There's nothing like looking if you want to find something. Have you thoroughly explored it, said the wizard, who knew the caves up in the mountains were seldom unoccupied. Yes, they said, though everybody knew they could not have been long about it. They had come back too quick. It isn't all that big, and it does not go far back. That, of course, is the dangerous part about caves. You don't know how far they go back. Sometimes, or where a passage may lead to, or what is waiting for you inside. But now, Fili and Kili's news seemed good enough. So they all got up and prepared to move. The wind was howling and the thunder still growling. Ooh, I like that. The wind was howling and the thunder still growling. And they had a business getting themselves and their ponies along. That is such a poetic line. I gotta look out for more of this, like the lilt of this sentence. I don't know why, but the lilt of that sentence is perfect. Like, listen to this. It sounds like a poem. I mean, he rhymes, obviously, so it sounds like a poem. The wind was howling, and the thunder still growling, and they had a business getting themselves and their ponies along. It feels like the meter of Nevermore, or the Raven. You know what I mean? And the wind was howling, and the thunder still growling, and they had a business getting themselves and their ponies along. Dang, the guy knows meter. That's a great metered line. That is lovely. I love that. Still, it was not very far to go. And before long, they came to a big rock standing out into a path. If you stepped behind it, you found a low arch in the side of the mountain. There was just room to get the ponies through with a squeeze. When they had been unpacked and unsaddled. As they passed under the arch, it was good to hear the wind and the rain outside instead of all about them, and to feel safe from the giants and their rocks. But the wizard was taking no risks. He lit up his wand. As he did that, his wand. He lit up his wand as he did that day in Bilbo's dining room that seemed so long ago. I forgot. I didn't know he had a wand. I thought it was just his staff. Hold on. And by its light, they explored the cave from end to end. Is it the same? Staff and wand? Wand equals staff? Okay. I was about to say. He's pulling a little Harry Potter over here. Staff. It's a staff. Okay. Wandolf. Yeah, he goes and says Lumos. Lumos Maxima. It seems quite a fair size, but not too large and mysterious. It had a dry floor and some comfortable nooks. At one end, there was a room for the ponies, and there they stood, mighty glad of the change, steaming and champing in their nose bags. Owen and Glowin. Also, for these pronunciations, Malcolm Geit had a video where he was in the Hobbit hole. Anybody see that one? And he was reading a passage from the Hobbit, I think from the first chapter in the Hobbit. And the way he says Owen and Glowin is kind of the way that I say it, which makes me even happier. Because he said, he had like, it was like a 2-syllable thing, but it was like a mix between Owen and Glowin. I think it was like Owen and Glowin. It was a good pronunciation. And I watched that and I was like, that felt great. Justification. Owen and Glowin wanted to light a fire at the door to dry their clothes, but Gandalf would not hear of it. So they spread out their wet things on the floor and got dry ones out of their bundles. Then they made their blankets comfortable. They got out their pipes and blew smoke rings, which Gandalf turned to different colors and set dancing up by the roof to amuse them. They talked and forgot about the storm, and discussed what each would do with his share of the treasure when they got it, which at the moment did not seem so possible. And they dropped off to sleep one by one. And that was the last time they used the ponies. Baggages, tools, and paraphernalia that they had all brought with them. Interesting. Ominous. Also Tolkien including the readers. Because that question is like the most interesting question. It's like a really relatable question. Because he goes, what the doors were obviously like they're thinking about what they're going to use their treasure for. That's like why they're on this mission kind of. But also he's including the readers in this. Like if I'm reading this to like kids, you say, what would you use the treasure for? And you just have like a side discussion on that. It's great. You insist on saying biffer with the I sound. Bifer? Bifer and bobber? I kind of like that. I'm going to start doing that now. Glowing, and gone. Foreshadowing. Totally. A little foreshadowing here. It turned out a good thing that night. It turned out a good thing that night that they had brought little Bilbo with them. After all. For somehow he could not go to sleep for a long while. And then when he did sleep, he had very nasty dreams. He dreamed that a crack in the walls at the very back of the cave got bigger and bigger and opened wider and wider. And he was very afraid but could not call out or do anything but lie and look. And he dreamed that the floor of the cave was giving way and he was slipping, beginning to fall down, goodness knows where. Weird. At that, he woke up with a horrible start and found that part of his dream was true. A crack had opened at the back of the cave and was already a wide passage. He was just in time to see the last of the pony's tails disappearing into it. Of course, he gave a very loud yell. As loud a yell as a hobbit can give, which is surprising for their size. That's okay. So this is really fun and weird because this is like very dreamlike. But I wonder if he was awake or having a lucid dream in some way. Has anybody seen? Also, everyone liked the stream. Has anybody seen Bluey, the episode called Sleepy Time? One of the greatest episodes of television of all time, I'm telling you. There are a few things that are better than that 7-8 minutes of wonder. It's incredible. Yeah, it's one of the best episodes ever. I think my favorite is still Cricket. Love that episode so much. Is anybody in the chat 4 years old? Dude, I'm 35 and I enjoy Bluey. I watch my nieces and nephews and I watch it alone. It's great. But that one episode is like they're having a dream, or Bingo's having a dream. They're all kind of having a dream, like a collaborative dream, which is weird, to be completely honest. And like everything that's happening in real life is like happening in the dream. And this is very similar to like how we dream. Like you feel, it's just like so valid and true of dreams that whatever you're experiencing in the real world, in the physical world, you like combine and you dream. The obvious one is like falling. You feel like you're falling and all of a sudden you fall off your bed or something like that. But so many of that kind of stuff. I still remember one time when I was backpacking, I had a backpack and we were in the pouring rain and we found this little shelter and there was like 10 people I was backpacking with and it was a 3-person shelter. So we huddled in the shelter all together. It was so packed and I was sleeping on a ledge, a stair outside, and the rain kept pelting my face because we had a little tarp that went over. And I remember that was the first time, maybe the only time I've ever had like a really lucid dream. And I remember partway through the dream, I just was dreaming that I was like in the middle of a rainstorm, but I still remember all my dream was, it was so weird because throughout the whole dream, I kept dreaming I was getting rained on. And I was like, I'm in my house. Why am I getting rained on? And it was such a bizarre idea. But that's what it feels like. It was perfect. It's like you have a dream that the crack in the wall is opening bigger and bigger, but that's actually happening in reality. A Bluey adaptation of The Hobbit would be unbelievable. No way, you're rehearsing a piece to sing tonight at the church that uses the Jupiter theme. That's my favorite theme of all time. I love that. Honestly, a Bluey crossover with The Hobbit is exactly what they need. Everyone go watch that. That episode is the greatest episode. Yeah, maybe lucid dreaming is you're being aware that it's a dream while dreaming. That's what I had when I was dreaming. I still remember when I was in the dream, I was pinching myself because I was like, I am actually dreaming this, but I wasn't able to wake up and it was terrifying. What's the one? Sleep paralysis is maybe the one that I'm thinking. Maybe Bilbo has sleep paralysis right now where he's like actually awake, but he thinks that he's dreaming. It's like, I guess maybe that's the reverse of lucid dreaming. What's the reverse of lucid dreaming? Is that sleep paralysis? Not really. What is it? There has to be a reverse of sleep what is it called? Why did I just blank on that? Lucid dreaming. Is there one? Anyway, let's keep reading. That was a fun little rabbit hole. A rabbit trail. At that, he woke up with a horrible start and found that part of his dream was true. I read this paragraph, but let's read it again. He was just in time to see the last of the pony's tails disappearing into it, and he yelled. Out jumped the goblins. Big goblins, great, ugly-looking goblins. Lots of goblins. What a great sentence. Out jumped the goblins. Big goblins. Great, ugly-looking goblins. Lots of goblins. Like, this is a poetic chapter. Weird. I'm smelling burnt toast. Isn't that usually a sign that you're going to have a stroke or something? I think someone's actually burning toast now, but if I do, someone call 911. Before you could say rocks and blocks, there were goblins. There were 6 to each dwarf at least, and 2 even for Bilbo. And they were all grabbed and carried through the crack, before you could say tinder and flint. But not Gandalf. Bilbo's yell had done that much good. It had wakened him up wide in a splintered second, and when goblins came to grab him, there was a terrific flash like lightning in the cave, a smell like gunpowder, and several of them fell dead. Whoa! Crazy! Ooh, Michael, that's a good line. Actually, send me that line. If you throw that line in the Discord, because maybe I'll make an essay about that, and I would love to use that line. Dream realism. That sounds something it is. Yes. Reverse thinking your real life is a dream. Yeah. Jasper, also, I just quickly read your hot take on A Tale of Two Cities. I don't know if I agree with you. Although I feel like I want to make a video on that or write an essay on that or something like that. It's a really interesting point. Yeah, if you find that essay, even if you find the essay, just send the essay. Yeah, there's a very poetic section going on right here. Gandalf killing people with a terrific flash. Interesting. He's been more magical in this book than he is in The Lord of the Rings. The crack closed with a snap. What? How? How do you close a rock crack like that? Was this not rock? Gandalf. You had an episode where you're sleepwalking and thought I was awake, but I was also definitely dreaming. That's funky. Yeah, maybe the opposite of lucid dreaming is sleepwalking, honestly. It's a door, but like it opens like a crack. That's kind of a cool way to open a door, I guess. Yeah, a dwarf style door. Goblins can close their cracks. And they wiped the crack shut. Goblins tunnel and mine as well as most skillful dwarves. Interesting. I didn't think they would do that. I always kind of felt like they just inhabited. They're like almost like parasites. They just inhabit things that other people make. All right. The crack closed with a snap, and Bilbo and the dwarves were on the wrong side of it. Where was Gandalf? Of that, neither they nor the goblins had any idea, and the goblins did not wait to find out. They seized Bilbo and the dwarves and hurried them along. It was deep, deep, dark, such as only goblins that have taken to living in the heart of the mountains can see through. The passages there were crossed and tangled in all directions, but the goblins knew their way, as well as you do the nearest post office. And the way went down and down. Okay, so that's an interesting sentence too, because this doesn't feel... This is why he's, again, this is a children's story. The passages were crossed and tangled in all directions, but the goblins knew their way, as well as you do the nearest post office. That brings you out of the story a little bit. Like, this is Tolkien, like, holding your hand through something that is dreadful and terrifying. Because I keep comparing this chapter to... what's the chapter where he's about to fight the Balrog? The Shadow and Flame? Shadow and the Flame? That chapter being so terrifying, there's not a moment's break. Even though the characters are taking breaks, you feel like every Journey in the Dark... I don't know if it was Journey in the Dark. I think it was after that chapter. I think I'm talking about the one right after that. Although Journey in the Dark did have that tension to it. Yeah, maybe it was the Bridge of Khazad-dûm. I think it was just the Bridge of Khazad-dûm. But that chapter is so tense, and like I feel like I couldn't have any breaks. I still remember reading that on a plane and feeling so tense the whole time, like grabbing onto my because Tolkien in that whole chapter doesn't give you a break. In this is so different because he does. Because like I was starting to read this, like he has indications in the text of how you read this more serious. Like I started to read this more serious. I was like, it was deep, deep, dark, such as only goblins that have taken to living in the heart of the mountains can see through. The passages were crossed and tangled in all directions, but the goblins knew their way, as well as you do the nearest post office. Like, it takes you out of the journey a little bit because I feel like he's writing this for kids again, and he can't just make this thing dreadful and scary for kids. He's like easing their way into it. In writing, they always, like, this is, which I don't necessarily always agree with this, like the instructions that they always give for writing sometimes in the rules are not really all that good. Like, you have to know the rules in order to break them. Tolkien is breaking rules here, because he shouldn't necessarily say post office like you do the nearest post office, because that's not really that is relatable to the story. But how it's relatable is because Bilbo's telling the story and he's thinking about it from your nearest post office, and he's relating the story afterward. So like he's writing all this down after the fact, and he's like thinking he's writing this when he's in safety. And maybe that's the indication for this text too, that this is Bilbo's writing this after, and therefore he's like adding fun things, but know that he's writing this after, and he comes through the journey okay and all right. It's interesting. Just interesting. All that from a line about a post office. And the way went down and down, and it was most horribly stuffy. The goblins were very rough, and pinched unmercifully, and chuckled, and laughed in their horrible stony voices, and Bilbo was more unhappy than when the troll had picked him up by his toes. He wished again and again for his nice bright hobbit hole. Not for the last time. I love that it keeps saying that line, not for the last time. That seems to be the theme. That's such a children's story thing to do, too. You keep repeating this one little line, like, not for the last time. And so they start picking up on that. How Bilbo really is longing for home. He just wants to be home. That's definitely his bag inside. Now there came a glimmer of red light before them. The goblins began to sing or croak, keeping time with the flap of their flat feet on the stone, and shaking their prisoners as well. Clap, snap, the black crack. Grip, grab, pinch, nab. And down, down to Goblin Town you go, my lad. Crash, clash, crush, smash. Hammer and tongs, knocker and gongs. Pound, pound, far underground. Ho, ho, my lad. Swish, smack, whip, crack. Batter and beat, yammer and bleat. Work, work, nor dare to shirk, while goblins quaff and goblins laugh. Round and round, far underground, below, my lad. What does the word quaff mean? Yeah, it's such a Fimbrel the cat. 100%. That line is a relief that you're reading it, and I feel like intuitively, even if you don't necessarily get it at the point, you realize that Bilbo's going to be okay. A quaff? Oh, it is quaff, not quaff. Okay, yeah, thank you. Quaff, drink. I actually knew that, but well, goblins drink and goblins laugh. Okay. Yeah, it's a good little break that you kind of know he's going to be okay just by the post office line. A drink from a horn, messily. Interesting. Weird. It sounded truly terrifying. Also, everyone liked to stream. The walls echoed to the clap, snap, and the crush, smash, and to the ugly laughter of their ho, ho, my lad. The general meaning of the song was only too plain, for now the goblins took out whips and whipped them with a swish smack, and set them running as fast as they could in front of them. And more than one of the dwarves were already yammering and bleeding like anything when they stumbled into a big cavern. It was lit by a great red fire in the middle, and by torches along the walls. It was full of goblins. They all laughed and stamped and clapped their hands when the dwarves, with poor little Bilbo at the back and nearest to the whips, came running in, while the goblin drivers whooped and cracked their whips behind. The ponies were already there, huddled in a corner, and they were all the baggages and packages, and there were all the baggages and packages lying broken open and being rummaged by goblins, and smelt by goblins, and fingered by goblins, and quarreled over by goblins. I love the repetition of goblins in this whole chapter. Goblins are everywhere, even in the text itself. This chapter I feel like is a okay. So I'm gonna say this: the previous 3 chapters were great for the writing of Tolkien. He started off a novel really, really well. I feel like this is where he's flexing a bit more. He's like into the story now, and he's just kind of flexing his writer muscle. I feel like this chapter has taken a step up in his writing. Like he's trying new things, he's experimenting that he didn't do in the previous chapter, or maybe that I just didn't see in the previous chapter. He did a lot of this stuff in the previous one, but this one feels like it's a step up as far as the writing is concerned. And I wonder if he's going to keep doing that. Like I think he's doing this purposefully, like an introduction to the story, and then he takes a step up and like is introducing you to different writing concepts, and then maybe in every like 4 or 5 chapters he's going to kind of elevate the writing a little bit, or maybe change the writing. I'm curious how and if the writing is going to change at all, because he's good at that. He's good at character writing, writing different stories in different voices. So I wonder if that's going to get different as Bilbo grows and he adapts and he learns and gets more comfortable, maybe. Yeah, more description and action, less dialogue. Yeah, we definitely leaves more room for like poetry in when what you're doing. Honestly, it's a great point too. The story itself is getting more complicated. It's not like that simple anymore. Yeah, totally. So he's introducing linguistical complexity as the story gets more complex. Oh, that's so cool. As the story goes on. People do this. Yeah, that's an essay. There's an essay in that. People do this all the time. Like, I think so this isn't linguistical complexity. This is maturity level. Like the Harry Potter series gets mature with every book because the books are growing along with Harry and they're getting more mature and they're coming from his voice, which is more mature. So as the books go on, they get darker and they understand deeper concepts. This book is doing that as Bilbo like goes along on this journey and like learns and becomes a different person. But Tolkien even goes a step above this and changes the actual literary methods that he's using to show you that, which is great. It's fantastic. Riddles in the Dark is a good chapter. I think that's the next chapter, right? I shouldn't look, but I'm going to look. Yeah, Riddles in the Dark, chapter 5. That's crazy that that's chapter 5 already. That's nuts. Oh, I can't wait for that chapter. That's a long chapter. Excellent. Yes, I love a long chapter. I'm afraid that was the last they ever saw of those excellent little ponies, including a jolly, sturdy little white fellow that Elrond had lent to Gandalf. Aw. A little Shadowfax foreshadowing right there. Since his horse was not suitable for the mountain paths. For goblins eat horses and ponies and donkeys and much more dreadful things. And they are always hungry. Just now, however, the prisoners were thinking only of themselves. The goblins chained their hands behind their backs and lined them and linked them all together in a line and dragged them to the far end of the cavern, with little Bilbo tugging at the end of the row. There in the shadows, on a large flat stone, sat a tremendous goblin with a huge head. End-armed goblins were standing round him, carrying the axes and the bent swords that they use. Now goblins are cruel, wicked, and bad-hearted. They make no beautiful things, but they make many clever ones. Whoa! I love that line. That is one of the most fascinating lines that he's ever written. This is so insightful on what Tolkien values and what he thinks of good and evil. People who are orcs don't make beautiful things. They make clever ones. Dang, that is This is what makes a person. Oh, this is so good. Holy smokes. Goblins are cruel, wicked, and bad-hearted. They make no beautiful things, but they make many clever ones. That is one of the most interesting, important lines. I feel like that's written. This is like one of the most applicable lines in life today. I thought immediately of like these AI data centers, with these people making this kind of stuff. Clever, not beautiful. Man, this is what makes a good human a good human. Dang, this is so good. I mean, like, clever things are... people should be making clever things, but if you're not making clever things along with beautiful things, you're an orc. Man. Okay, I'm gonna make one of those videos. Hold on, I'll read. I gotta read on it in a second. You guys gonna help me brainstorm a video title for this, because I'm gonna make a video where it's one of those where I look into the camera and I'm thinking, I have a title. You know, this Tolkien line changed my opinion about blank, or this Tolkien line did something to me. What's a good title for this video? This Tolkien line showed me who real humans are. This Tolkien line showed me what humanity is. That's kind of boring. Did orcs cause the world wars? For Tolkien, the things that matter most are the true, the good, and the beautiful. Totally. It's the cruelty and cleverness, not the practicality. Clever, not pretty. The Tolkien line that defines what it means to be human. Oh, that's a good one. I kind of love that. Tolkien said he lifted the goblins. Thanks for the $5. Tolkien said he lifted the goblins in The Hobbit from George MacDonald's Princess and the Goblin. Interesting. I've never read that one. Maybe we'll take a breather this week and read that. Is that a short story? I feel like a short story title. Or is that a poem? Just beautiful and clever things. For the children of this age are wiser in their generation than the children of light. Should we blame Saruman for the strain of orc blood persisting in the human race? It's a novel. Bummer. Probably not going to take a foray and read that then. What a great line, though. All right, I'm going to keep reading. Apparently it gets good. They can tunnel and mine as well as any but the most skilled dwarves. When they take the trouble, though they are usually untidy and dirty. Hammers, axes, swords, daggers, pickaxes, tongs, and also instruments of torture they make very well. Or get other people to make their designs. Prisoners and slaves that have to work till they die for want of air and light. It is not unlikely that they invent some of the machines that have since troubled the world. Especially the ingenious devices for killing large numbers of people at once. For wheels and engines and explosions always delight them. And also, not working with their own hands more than they could help. Interesting. This is one of the most interesting things that Tolkien wrote that helped me understand goblins and orcs and evil creatures for what his mindset had. But in those days and in those wild parts, they had not advanced, as it is called, so far. They did not hate dwarves especially, no more than they hated everybody and everything, particularly the orderly and the prosperous. In some parts, wicked dwarves had even made alliances with them. Come on, dwarves, what are you doing? But they had a special grudge against Thorin's people because of the war which you have not heard mentioned. Or which you have heard mentioned, sorry. But which does not come into this tale. And anyway, goblins don't care who they catch as long as it's done smart and secret. And the prisoners are not able to defend themselves. This is so phenomenal. One of my favorite paragraphs so far in the whole story. Just because I've had this conundrum over who orcs and goblins are Redeemable, not redeemable. Who really are they? What are they doing? And this is so good. This is why all you guys hated some of my videos that I made on how I understood orcs and dwarves. Because this line is like, no, they're evil. Like an orc is a race, yes. But an orc is almost less of a race than someone who qualifies in these things. If you are doing these things, you are an orc. Whether you're a man, or whether you're a dwarf, or whether you're an elf. Now those people generally don't do these kind of things. But if you do those things, you're acting orc-like. You know? Yeah. No, you guys never really hate my videos, to be honest. You guys are always super kind and great. I know it's supposed to be Bilbo who wrote The Hobbit, but I think it's more like Tolkien knew about it, and it's him writing it. Remember him telling big people like us? Yeah, I kind of feel like that too. It's like his translation of it, you know? So he like inserts certain things in there. Yeah, you can be orc-like without being an orc. Yeah, I like that too. And he says orc speech is really way more profane. I can't wait for Children of Húrin. Nothing's a quick read for me. Come on. You guys should know that. Orc work is used in Lord of the Rings. That's true. Oh, this is so good. This is what an excellent paragraph. That is so illuminating for me. I need to sit and dwell on that one for a while. There's going to be a few essays I feel like that come out of that one. Man, that was a great paragraph. Who are these miserable persons, said the great goblin. Dwarves in this. Hold on, I got to charge my phone. Sorry. Give me a sec. We're back. Dwarves in this, said one of the drivers, who someone sent a picture in a Discord. Oh, this big goblin. Thanks, Attila. Dang, he is ugly. Is Alan Lee the one that did that second one, Attila? I've seen that kind of image before. I've seen some of these orcs before. I feel like he just reused some of their faces. Interesting. Dwarves and this, said one of the drivers, pulling at Bilbo's chain so that he fell forward onto his knees. Interesting that Bilbo's wearing a chain. Oh no, the chain on his... I was going to say, like, he's already wearing the ring chain. The on the right is... Okay, left is John Howe. Interesting. I was thinking the chain around his neck, but the chain's on his wrists, I guess. We found them sheltering in our front porch. What do you mean by it, said the great goblin, turning to Thorin. Up to no good, I'll warrant. Spying on the private business of my people, I guess. Thieves. I shouldn't be surprised to learn. Murderers and friends of elves. Not unlikely. Come. What have you got to say? Thorin the dwarf at your service. He replied, it was merely a polite nothing. Of the things which you suspect and imagine, we had no idea at all. We, sheltering from a storm in what seemed a convenient cave and unused. Nothing was further from our thoughts than inconveniencing goblins in any way whatever. That was true enough. Said the great goblin. So you say, might I ask, what were you doing up in the mountains at all? And where were you coming from? And where were you going to? In fact, I should like to know all about you. Not that it will do you much good, Thorin Oakenshield. I know too much about your folk already, but let's have the truth, or I will prepare something particularly uncomfortable for you. We were on a journey to visit our relatives, our nephews and nieces, and first, second, and third cousins, and the other descendants of our grandfathers who live on the east side of these truly hospitable mountains, said Thorin, not quite knowing what to say all at once in a moment, when obviously the exact truth would not do at all. He is a liar. Oh, tremendous one. Oh, truly tremendous one, said one of the drivers. Several of our people were struck by lightning in the cave when we invaded these creatures to come below. And they are as dead as stones. He has not explained this. He held at the sword which Thorin had worn. The sword which came from the troll lairs. The great goblin gave a truly awful howl of rage when he looked at it, and all his soldiers gnashed their teeth, clashed their shields, and stamped. They knew the sword at once. It had killed hundreds of goblins in its time. When the fair elves of Gondolin hunted them in the hills or did battle before their walls. They had called it Orcrist, goblin cleaver, but the goblins simply called it biter. They hated it, and hated worse anyone that carried it. Yeah, this is so good. Murderers and elf friends, the great goblin shouted. Slash them, beat them, bite them, gnash them. Take them away to dark holes full of snakes and never let them see light again. He was in such a rage that he jumped off his seat and rushed himself at Thorin with his mouth open. Is he going to eat him? Just at that moment, all the lights in the cavern went out, and the great fire went off, poof, into a tower of blue glowing smoke, right up to the roof, that scattered piercing white sparks all among the goblins. Whoa. Was he about to eat Thorin? He was in such a rage that he jumped off his seat and himself rushed at Thorin with his mouth open. Gosh. He's got a big mouth. Just at the moment, all the lights in the cavern went out, and the great fire went off, poof, into a tower of blue glowing smoke. The blue wizards? Right up to the roof. That scattered, piercing white sparks all among the goblins. That's a cool image. Has anybody done an illustration of that image? I feel like that would be kind of fun to illustrate. Like a tower, a blue glowing smoke tower right up to the roof that scattered, piercing white sparks all among the goblins. That's kind of cool. The yells and yammerings, croaking, gibbering, and jabbering, howls, growls, and curses, shrieking and shrinking, shrieking and shrieking. Shrieking? Is shrieking a word? What does shrieking mean? I mean, I know what it means, but is it a word? Shrieking and shrieking? 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 Skricking? Sorry, skricking. That's not an H. Skricking. Skriking. Skricking. Someone tell me if that's a word or not. Skricking that followed were beyond description. Several hundred wild cats and wolves being roasted slowly alive together would not have compared with it. The sparks were burning holes in the goblins, and the smoke that now fell from the roof made the air too thick even for their eyes to see through. I've never heard scroak before. Oh, maybe I've heard scroak, yeah, maybe that. But that's not, is that the same version of this as this word? It seems skricking comes from skrike, a shrill cry, a screeching. Its usage is now chiefly dialectic. Interesting, okay. If you want to get info on goblins in a literary history, you should listen to an episode of the Inklings Variety Hour podcast. And what is a goblin? I'll keep that on the radar. I'll listen to that after I finish the Legendarium. So that'll be 10 years. I want to have all my own opinions of the goblins before I get any outsiders, even though you guys are helping me understand goblins. But I want to totally read it for the first time. Not have any outsiders' belief or perspectives. Only think what I think about them. And then as soon as I finish it for the first time, then I can jump into that stuff and give opinions on other people's opinions. Smokescreen, is a word, a base word is skrike, a shrill cry, or a screeching. Okay, interesting. Gandalf being a pacifist in Lord of the Rings. Yeah, this is not pacifism. Well, he kind of is. I mean, I think Danny said that too. Maybe. Danny said something like that. Or maybe he said that he had a kill counter or something. Yeah, he is not messing around here. Several hundred wildcats and wolves being roasted slowly alive together would not have compared with it. The sparks were burning holes in the goblins. This is crazy magic. And the smoke that now fell from the roof made the air too thick even for their eyes to see through. Soon they were falling. There's an interesting thing is, are dwarves unaffected by this? Is this a specific goblin spell? Because none of the dwarves are crying out. Maybe I will get a line that says the dwarves are crying out when they get hit by some of these. Is there like a shield over them? Pine cone grenades. Narya, maybe. Interesting. Yeah, that's a good idea, actually. Maybe I mean, because I guess if you're a wizard, you can cast this magic and then cast a protective spell over all the dwarves. Made the roof thick with smoke. Soon they were falling over one another and rolling in heaps on the floor, biting and kicking and fighting as if they had all gone mad. Suddenly a sword flashed its own light. Bilbo saw it go right through the great goblin, and he stood dumbfounded in the middle of his rags. He fell dead, and the goblin soldiers fled before the sword shrieking into the darkness. Does Glamdring glow blue? Or is this like just the sword is reflecting light? But it says a sword flashed in its own light. Does he take Orcrist? Oh, so Glamdring actually glows too? I didn't know that. Weapons from Gondolin glow. Interesting. I'm curious to know why. I can't wait to read that. So all elven swords. So that's interesting too, because I remember in Lord of the Rings, my idea was that they don't glow blue just for goblin alerts, just for like a GPS. They glow blue to blind the enemy, which is really cool. Was that flash of lightning in the cave? Yes, it was magic, probably from his wand to some extent, but was Gandalf drawing the sword? Did he strike down some of the goblins right before he left? Was that the sword? Or do you think that was magic? It was probably both, but do you think he had the sword involved in that too? Elven swords glow with a cold, bitter fire fighting the goblins. Well, his wand, aka his staff. That's what I mean, because it said wand before in the book. He used his wand to light the way. Yeah, it killed several goblins instantly, but that's coming from maybe the goblin's perspective. Like, you do a quick wheelabout and you just do that. But maybe they weren't slashed. Maybe maybe it seems more like they were killed from that. Yeah, that's a good idea. He wields lightning. That's true. That's true. Yeah, maybe more like a flashbang grenade. That yeah, I'm with you on that. Otherwise, there would be blood everywhere, and there isn't. There's no mention of blood, so magic. Thank you. All right. Suddenly a sword flashed in its own light. Bilbo saw it go right through the great goblin as he stood dumbfounded in the middle of his rage. I think I said rags for the first time. In the middle of his rage, he fell dead, and the goblin soldiers fled before him, shrieking into the darkness. The sword went back into its sheath. "Follow me, quick," said a voice, fierce and quiet. And before Bilbo understood what had happened, he was trotting along again, as fast as he could trot, at the end of the line, down more dark passages with the yells of the goblin halls glowing fainter behind him. A pale light was leading them on. "Quicker, quicker," said the voice. "The torches will soon be relit." "Half a minute," said Dory, who was at the back next to Bilbo, and a decent fellow. Good for Dory, who was at the back next to Bilbo, and a decent fellow. He made the hobbit scramble on his shoulders as best he could, with his tied hands, and then off they went at a run, with a clink clink of chains and many a stumble. They had no hands to steady themselves with. Not for a long while did they stop, and by that time they must have been right down in the very mountain's heart. Then Gandalf lit up his wand. Again, he has a wand. Charlie Hopkinson's videos? I don't know. Maybe. Of course it was Gandalf. But just then, they were too busy to ask how he got there. He took out his sword again. And again it flashed in the dark by itself. It burned with a rage that made it gleam if goblins were about. Now it was bright as blue flame for delight in the killing of the great lord of the cave. It made no trouble whatever of cutting through the goblin chains and setting all the prisoners free as quickly as possible. The sword's name was Glamdring, the foe hammer, if you remember. The goblins just called it Beater. Beater and bitter. And hated it worse than bitter or biter if possible. Biter and beater. Orcris too had been saved, for Gandalf had brought it along as well, snatching it from one of the terrified guards. Gandalf thought of most things, and though he could not do everything, he could do a great deal for a friend in a tight corner. What a good line. And though he could not do everything, he could do a great deal for a friend in a tight corner. What a good line. Love that Gandalf line. That's sweet. Very sweet and kind of him. Yeah, Glamdring would be sweet to have. "Are we all here?" said he, handing his sword back to Thorin with a bow. Let me see. 1, that's Thorin. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Where are Fili and Kili? Here they are, 12 and 13. And here's Mr. Baggins, 14. Well, it might be worse. And then again, it might be a good deal better. No ponies and no food. And no knowing quite where we are. And hordes of angry goblins just behind. On we go. Honestly, that line kind of goes hard too. On we go. What else can they do? Can't change the past. They can only aim to change the future. On you go. Just keep going. On they went. Gandalf was quite right. They began to hear goblin noises and horrible cries far behind in the passages they had come through. That sent them on faster than ever, and as poor Bilbo could not possibly go half as fast, for dwarves can roll along at a tremendous pace, I can tell you. When they have to, they took it in turns to carry him on their backs. Still, goblins go faster than dwarves, and these goblins knew the way better, and they had made paths themselves, and were madly angry, so that do what they could The dwarves heard the cries and the howls getting closer and closer. Soon they could hear even the flap of the goblin feet, and many feet, which seemed only just around the last corner. The blink of red torches could be seen behind them in the tunnel they were following, and they were getting deadly tired. Why, oh, why did I ever leave my hobbit hole, said poor Mr. Baggins, bumping up and down on Bomber's back. Oh. Why, oh, why did I ever bring a wretched little hobbit on a treasure hunt, said poor Bomber, who was fat and staggered along, with the sweat dripping down his nose in heat and terror. The humor of this book is so great. At this point, Gandalf fell behind, and Thorin with him. They turned a sharp corner. About turn, he shouted. Draw your sword, Thorin. There was nothing else to be done. And the goblins did not like it. They came scurrying around the corner in full cry, and found Goblin Cleaver and Foe Hammer shining cold and bright in their astonished eyes. The ones in front dropped their torches and gave one yell before they were killed. The ones behind yelled still more and leaped back, knocking over those that were running after them. Biter and beater, they shrieked. And soon they were all in confusion, and most of them were hustling back the way they had come. It was quite a long while before any of them dared to turn that corner. By the time the dwarves had gone on again, a long, long way into the dark tunnels of the goblin realm. When the goblins discovered that, they put out their torches and they slipped on soft shoes. And they chose out their very quickest runners, with the sharpest ears and eyes. These ran forward as swift as weasels in the dark, and with hardly any more noise than bats. That is why neither Bilbo nor the dwarves nor even Gandalf heard them coming, nor did they see them. But they were seen by the goblins that ran silently up behind. For Gandalf was letting his wand give out a faint light to help the dwarves as they went along. Quite suddenly, Dori, now at the back again carrying Bilbo, was grabbed from behind in the dark. He shouted and fell, and the hobbit rolled off his shoulders into the blackness, bumped his head on a hard rock, and remembered nothing more. What? Next time, Riddles in the Dark. Oh my gosh, what a good ending to this chapter. I feel like all these are going to just be little cliffhanger endings. That is a fun ending. Imagine going, you find out tomorrow when we do the rest of the story to your kid who you're reading this at bedtime. What a great chapter. Wow, what a really great chapter. So many things to talk about and think about. The last chapter didn't have that many. This chapter I have a plethora of things to talk about. Goodness gracious. Next chapter has a major rewrite. It's not the same chapter as in the first edition. That's what I've heard. I'm gonna read the one in this version, but I probably maybe I'll do that. Maybe I'll read. So next week we'll do the Riddles in the Dark, and then sometime the following week I'll do like a stream that sometime during just the random part of the week that is just rereading that chapter in the first edition or his first version of that. Honestly, yeah, this like this would work in a short. I keep thinking of a short animated series. Each episode is like a 30 to 40 minute episode, and it would just work so well. The rewrite is so much better. Interesting. Okay, the original isn't canon, but it'd still be fun to just revisit the original. First version is not viable. Now you guys are really piquing my interest. The rewrite was alluded to by Bilbo in the Council of Elrond. That's right, because he talked about riddles, yeah. It's the reason Frodo told Gandalf about the real story Bilbo told him. Tolkien tells you in Lord of the Rings that the first edition is a lie, Huh, interesting. Now I'm very, very curious. We're gonna get to that when we get to that. We'll get to that next week. But I want to read that for myself and figure out what the issues are. It'll be fun. I feel like for Tolkien, there's maybe like secondary and primary canon. Maybe that's like secondary canon. Like everything Tolkien writes is canon. But for him, there's like some primary stuff, secondary stuff in the middle. What a good chapter. Honestly, best chapter so far? I think I maybe like the first chapter the most. Honestly, these chapters are just so good. Like, all of them actually are excellent now that I'm thinking about that. The last chapter was still good, even though it didn't have that much. Very much a transitional chapter, but still so good. The first two chapters are just so good. They're excellent. This chapter, dang, so fantastic. Just such a fun story. Yeah, next chapter is like the most popular chapter, almost in literature. I think I know all the riddles in this chapter. Because we did this in my middle school class. We had like a whole day where we just tried to figure out the riddles. And then I memorized them after. To some extent. So I know that. But I don't know how really he gets there. I know they find the ring there. So I already know all the riddles. That's the only annoying thing. It'd be fun if I didn't, and I can kind of like figure it out as we go along. But I still remember them. 30 white horses on a red hill. First they champ, then they stamp, then they stand still. Then you have a box without hinges, key, or lid, yet inside golden treasure is hid. Those are the two that I didn't know for sure. Some of the other ones, I probably know them if I read them. Some good stuff out there. Yeah, I'm excited for these. So we'll get there when we get there. Man, that was a good chapter, though. I have a lot to think about and write about. That Goblin paragraph is one of the most interesting ones that I feel like Tolkien's written. That was just extraordinary. Like, I feel like I have so much to think about just from that paragraph alone. Lot to think on. A lot of essays coming out of that one. Maybe, yeah, I gotta figure out the essays for that one. Because I was thinking that The Hobbit was gonna be like an essay every other day, every week. This chapter probably has like 6 essays that I want to write. Or just do or talk about. Six videos. Maybe 7. Maybe 6, 7 videos. Getting ads over the read? Sorry, that stinks. I don't ever put ads in the read. I could do that if I wanted. I can insert an ad. I'm going to insert an ad right now. I don't think that does anything. I think it does. I think you guys get an ad if that happens. But I don't ever insert the ads, so it's all YouTube's issue. So sorry about that. No, I didn't think Tolkien was only going to give me a few good topics per chapter. But the first few chapters, there was a lot to talk about. But this chapter just was like the Council of Elrond kind of chapter in my head. Like, this is maybe when the story really starts going. It's good. You got an ad as soon as they click go play an ad. Man, this is one of those chapters that it's going to kind of floor me. There's like a lot of good stuff in this chapter. That Goblin chapter was good. There's so much good humor. Like, I feel like his writing just did take it was great before this, obviously. He's J.R. Tolkien. But maybe I'm just comparing it to the last chapter. The last chapter was very much a transitional chapter, and this one was like lots of stuff happened, and his writing is interesting. There's a lot of good stuff. A migraine relief ad. So far, do you find the book to be primarily in the light or in the dark? In the dark. That's a great point, actually. And they're in a hobbit hole. And they're in the dark in the troll shaws. Then they're in Elrond's house, which is light. Now they're in the mountains, which is dark. And then they're in the caves, which is dark. Interesting to think through that as the book goes on. What chapters are in the light, what chapters are in the dark. Who's my favorite? Bomber. I feel like I love Bomber the most. Honestly, Dory too, because Dory was kind and initially, maybe Dory's my favorite. The one that helps him. Which dwarf is Dory? Is he the one that has like the weird hair that looks like a friar? Dory from The Hobbit. Oh no, Dory's the old guy with the ear thing, right? Good for Dory. Helping him out. Yeah, no, they don't look like that, but they kind of look like that in my mind, unfortunately. I wish I had better mental images of this stuff. You know what I wish they do? They did this for Harry Potter, the illustrated versions of Harry Potter. I wish they would do that for. They probably have had, but I want someone to like illustrate them so I could like imagine them differently in my head. Because unfortunately, the movies take over my imagination with that, which is the real big downside behind watching movies before you read the books. Your imagination can't take over quite as much. The enjoyment level can be kind of be greater to some extent. But my imagination isn't going crazy with this, which is a bummer because I have some of the dwarves' images in my head. Ooh, a Hobbit graphic novel. That actually sounds great. I might do that. I might check that out. Yeah, even after reading the books, movies can do that too. Yeah, totally. I did it with Harry Potter. I had very clear. That's why I love the illustrated version of Harry Potter, because when I read Harry Potter initially, I had very clear images in my head of what Harry looked like, and then when I watched the movies, I was like, oh, that's not it. But then Daniel Radcliffe in my head soon became Harry Potter, so that's really what I think of, and I think of all the movie characters. And then the illustrated versions, when I read those, it helped me snap back to going, oh, that's kind of what I thought like they look like in my own imagination, and it gave me my imagination back, which I love that. So your mental image of Thorin is much stronger than the dwarf in the movies. And Thorin's the second oldest, right? Because Balin's the oldest, and then is it Thorin? Animated film will give a more book-accurate image of the dwarves. Okay, love that. Is Thorin the oldest? I thought Balin was the oldest. He doesn't look like a 30-year-old in my head. Thorin is older than Balin in the books. Interesting. That's really interesting. Okay. That's crazy. I wish I kind of made him old now. That would have been good. I actually don't mind a wordy graphic novel. I just want to see the images, though. Like, I would love that. To take that and just to be able to see kind of how this artist depicted them. Sounds fantastic. I gotta charge my watch. Do I remember the colors of each dwarf hood? No! That'd be impressive if I did. My memory is not good. I wish my memory was good. I wish I had a good memory. You guys know, like, I will remember something, or like I'll read something from Lord of the Rings and then like the next week forget it, which actually works really well with spoilers. Sometimes people spoil things for me and I will totally forget that they spoiled it, and then I'll come to that section and be like, oh my gosh, that's incredible, do you guys know this happened? So maybe in 10 years I'll totally forget everything about Lord of the Rings and come back and read it for the first time again. The original licensed Hobbit is only 12 minutes long. That's crazy. It has nothing to do with the book. That's crazy. Also, here, I want to show you guys this. Very random. I have another camera setup that I'm going to use. I might start using this one. What's up, everyone? Then you can see my lovely books behind me. And it's a very clear image. Just different light. But it's probably so different. You're like, yeah, who is this guy? When you're used to this one. I'll probably still always use this one. Do I remember the smells in Bilbo's hole? That sounds dirty. I don't actually. Which is interesting because I love sensory language. But I usually remember sensory language, but I don't remember that one. It didn't smell like mold or dirt. It smelled like comfort. Yeah, definitely way too high. That one is a different camera angle. That's like a Hank Green camera angle. Yeah. Yeah, smells are the biggest memory trigger. That's why you include them in your writing. It smelled like roast chicken, really? Oh, that's a good smell. Yeah, that was kind of the angle of the Lord of the Rings, except it wasn't on the camera that good. It was on a webcam. That's an actual camera, like a mirrorless DSLR, a good camera. Trig, what's up? Perfect time to arrive. Ooh, I had a book that just got delivered. I'm reading a book with my friend. We're going to start our Western canon with the book How to Read a Book by, I forgot who it's by. It's a popular one. By Mortimer J. Adler and Charles Van Doren. Anybody read it? Mortimer Jerome Adler. But yeah, Trig, you arrived worst timing because we're just done. But still, it was good. Glad you were able to show up. That was a 2-hour read. That was actually not bad. I thought that was going to be longer. What a good chapter, though, man. Van Doren was the quiz show guy, really? Huh. Lovely, lovely chapter. Really enjoyed that one. Got a lot to think about with it. But I'm gonna leave you guys at it for now. I'm gonna go take Wes on a walk a little bit. Have I read Redwall? No, I haven't even heard of Redwall. By who? We'll add all those to the list. I do have another channel that I'm reading fun stuff on, and maybe I'll read Redwall on that one. Brian Jacques. Yeah, you got to rewatch. Brian Jacques. Brian Jakes. Really? Is it pronounced Jakes? That's crazy. It's famous. I've never even heard of it. Maybe I would if I saw the cover. Let me look it up. Oh yeah. This is like the mouse things. Honestly, I feel like I had this story read to me once or twice. I think I did. I think my mom read this to me when I was a kid. Wow, I did not remember that. But I remember a story about mice fighting and having swords. Yeah, there's a long recommendations of books right now, which is great. It's good to like a lot of books. All right, guys. All the books have the same plot structure. Yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of those. Once you read one, you're kind of good with the rest. All right, fellow Lord of the Rings lovers. I gotta have like a name for you guys. Should I call you guys hobbits? All right, fellow hobbits or dwarves, Middle Earth beings. We gotta come up with a name for you guys. We're thinking first time listeners, but that's too boring. All right, my dear Biffins and my dear Baggins and what does he say? I should end each stream like that. All right, my fellow proud feet. Oh, I could call you guys. Ooh, free folk is not bad. Shire folk is not bad either. My fellow Shire folk, free people. My dear proud feet. My dear proud foots. And you guys can go. I'll go. Proud feet. Rangers is not bad. Tolkienites is not bad. Middle Earthlings, I kind of like that too. Men of the West, I kind of like that. My men and women of the West. I kind of like that actually. I don't mind that. Men and women of the West. So far, that one's winning. All right, we'll think about that. Throw it in Discord if you have any other good names. Join the Discord if you want. If you want to join the Discord, it's here. Let me copy and paste real quick, and then I'm going to end the stream. Join the Discord if you want. It's right there. If not, we'll see you in the next stream or the next video or whatever. Again, that last video that I made, which was the difference between Casey Neistat and J.R. Tolkien, I had to take it down for some copyright issues with this first song in there. So I have to remake it and then post it again, which it'll probably die because everyone's already seen it and no one's going to watch it. And that stinks. But oh well. All right, guys. I'll see you in the next one. Peace out. Shirelings and men and women of the West.